Good evening, guys, and we'll start with a revision of corporate taxation. Corporate taxation, along with group reliefs, can very easily account for one-fourth of your paper, if not more. So, this is a syllabus area, this is a topic area that you should definitely focus on. It should be your first priority when you are preparing for your advanced tax paper. Now, one part of this, by the way, we already discussed in our morning discussion where we were doing capital gains. We discussed capital gains of companies. Now, in case of companies, the one point of difference is how the income is calculated. Okay. Now, in case of individuals, there's a separate capital gains calculation. But in case of companies, the calculation basically follows. It's like one single tax computation which is prepared. Okay. That one single tax computation includes all the sources of income. It includes trading income. It includes property income. It literally includes everything else. And then even capital gains is included there, and there is a single rate of tax that basically applies to both of these. मतलब अलग CGT and अलग income tax calculation doesn't happen. It all happens together. Now, when we are discussing here, what are the due dates and what is all of that, let's quickly go through the pro forma and let's have a quick revision of that part also. In case of a company, you add all the incomes together: trading income, interest income, property income, miscellaneous income, net chargeable gains. The total profits, you get the total profit. From that, you subtract the QCDs. Then you get TTP, that is taxable trading profit, and on that you have to calculate the corporate tax. Now there are two rates of corporate tax. There is the small profits rate of 19% and there is the rate of 25%, which is there for bigger entities. We'll get into the rates in a minute. The due date for filing the return is 9 months and 1 day after the end of the accounting period, unless you are a large company, in which case you will pay in installments. And the date for filing the return is 12 months after the end of the period of account. Ab- How is your corp tax liability calculated? First of all, you need to calculate the augmented profit. Augmented profit is TTP plus dividend received from non-group companies. That gives you your augmented profit. What you have to do is the company has to check where exactly does the augmented profit lie. The augmented profit, if it lies below 15,000, the 50,000, the rate is 19%. If it is above 2,50,000, the rate is a clear cut 25%. If it is between the upper and the lower limits, then you calculate tax at the 25% rate, and you also get a marginal relief. How is that marginal relief calculated? Upper limit minus augmented profit into standard fraction, which is 3 by 200 into TTP upon augmented profits. This calculation is the standard fraction number will be given to you. TTP and augmented profits is something that you will have to calculate. When you are doing this, dividends received from non-group companies, dividends received from UK companies and overseas companies are exempt from corporate tax. But when you are calculating the augmented profit, you should include that particular amount. Then dividend received from associate companies are also ignored in this calculation. Dividend received from an overseas company is included. And if they have been subjected to tax in the other country, then you will have to gross it up accordingly. ठीक है. अब due date of payment of tax for companies which are not large, due date is 9 months and 1 day after the end of the accounting period. ठीक है. And for large companies, the liability is settled through quarterly installment payments. How do you define a large company? A large company is one whose augmented profit for the accounting period is more than 1.5 million but less than 20 million. वो greater than 20 million वाला category अपने इसमें नहीं है discussion में. Augmented profits are taxable total profit plus dividend received from non-group companies. That gives you your augmented profit ka value. Uh, if this value is more than 1.5, then the quarterly payment happens in installments. 4 equal installments में आपको देना है. Now these installments, they basically are month 7, 10, 13, 16 from the start of the accounting period. Okay. That is something that you will have to keep in mind. Then ये जो upper और lower limits है ना, these limits can also be reduced or will also have to be reduced in certain cases. अब वो कौन से cases है, we'll see those. Talking about associated companies, two companies are associated if one company controls the other or both are controlled by the same person. Now, this person could be only for the purpose of associated companies wala analysis. It could include individual also. Control means that the person has greater than 50% of the issued share capital or voting power or whatever. Basically, more than 50% holding hoga, to two companies are associated. H and S are associated. H, S1, S2, S3 are associated. Mr. X controls Y Limited and Z Limited. Again, these are associated companies. When you have associated companies, the upper and the lower limits, they get reduced. They are divided by the total number of associated companies during the accounting period. So either H1, 2, 3 and 4 divide by 4 करो upper limit lower limit को and you will get your value. ठीक है, अपर लिमिट एंड लोअर लिमिट को आप डिवाइड बाय 4 एंड देन यू विल गेट रिवाइज्ड अपर लिमिट लोअर लिमिट. फिर चेक करो वेदर योर ऑगमेंटेड प्रॉफिट लाइज बिटवीन द रिवाइज्ड अपर एंड लोअर लिमिट्स. ठीक है. It is not necessary to have an effective interest of 50% for associates. Therefore, it does not matter that H Limited's effective interest in T Limited is only 26.01%. The definition of associated companies specifically includes overseas resident companies, subsidiaries joining and leaving the group during the AP, but does not include dormant companies and does not include inactive non-trading holding companies. ठीक है, एक बार ये देख लो. Look at example 1 and 2. I'll increase the size. Chalo. Let's understand how is trading income calculated. ठीक है. Then how is your trading income calculated? Trading income calculation is mostly similar like how you do it for individuals, but there are certain calculations which are slightly different. Now, what are these? Uh, Basically, there is one interesting adjustment when it comes to capital allowances. But trading profits here are always dealt with on an accrual basis, never on a cash basis. There are no private use adjustments, including capital allowances computation. Or because company के केस में private use कैसे होगा? Interest receivable or payable for trading reasons is included in trading profit. Interest other than the trading wala interest is basically included in your, excuse me, in the non-trade loan relationship wala calculation. Dividends payable are not an allowable trading expense. हो भी नहीं सकता because dividend is what? Dividend is basically appropriation of profits. It is not a charge against profit. And enhanced relief is available for research and development expenditure. अब annual investment allowance, यहाँ पे भी the 12-month period का annual investment allowance is 10 lakh. the AIA amount of 10 lakh must be split between related companies, and understand that it is not necessary that it has to be divided equally. All the related companies can utilize the AIA in any proportion that they want. Companies owned by the same individual will be regarded as related for this purpose, where they are engaged in the same activity or they share the same premises. If they are unrelated companies, so each entity will have its own AIA. ठीक है. अब there was a special scheme called enhanced capital allowances that was introduced earlier. How did this enhanced capital allowances scheme work? Companies purchasing new qualifying plant and machinery from 1st of April 23 can claim 100% FIA, also known as full expensing for main pool assets, and 50% FIA for special rate pool assets. Between 1st of April 21 and 31st of March 23, a 130% super deduction was available on the new main pool assets. ठीक है. 1st of April 21 and 31st of March 23, a 130% super deduction. Matlab, if you have spent 100 rupees, you will get a deduction of 130 rupees. Now this allowance is not examinable because वो भी पुराना हो गया. Okay, the enhanced capital allowances are included in the tax rates, and these ECAs are not available on second-hand asset, car, blah blah blah. Now, the AIA should be claimed before the ECA against purchases in the following order. AIA should be claimed against second-hand special rate pool, then second-hand main pool, then new special rate pool assets in preference to 50% FIA, then new main pool assets. But अभी आपके एग्जाम में क्या आ सकता है? What your exam can test you on is the disposal of assets on which ECA was claimed, because आपके period में ECA का concept is out. But those assets which were purchased on which you had claimed an enhanced capital expenditure allowance, now those assets will be sold. तो उसमें आपका disposal कैसे handle होगा? ठीक है. Super deduction of 130% was claimed. Balancing charge is equal to the disposal proceeds. ECA of 100% on the main pool. Balancing charge is 100%. मतलब disposal proceeds is equal to balancing charge. Because आपके books में TWDV 0 हो गया है. But ECA of 50% FIA is claimed on the special rate pool. Balancing charges proceeds into proportion of expenditure on which FIA was claimed into 50%. Proportion of expenditure on which FIA was claimed. So earlier, what out of the total value of the asset, किस value पे आपने ECA claim किया, consider that amount और उसका 50% निकालो, you will get your answer. Like your capital allowance, you have something that is known as the structures and buildings allowance. A structures and buildings allowance is basically given for buildings, then for approach roads, basically a structure which is connected with a building, but land is not included. SBI कैसे मिलता है? Cost of asset into 3% on a straight line basis. When the particular asset is sold, what you do is you calculate the SBAs till the date of disposal, you add that to the disposal proceeds, and the original cost you subtract from that, so that you get capital, आपका जो भी capital gain है, you will get it that way. Now, just have a quick look at the qualifying costs, which amounts are included and which are excluded. What is excluded, I think, is of more interest for us, which is basically land, legal fees, stamp duty, land tax, or repairs and maintenance. Basically, on all of these amounts, you don't get your structures and buildings allowance. Structures and buildings allowance is not something, that I would expect way too much, but एक आध बार कभी आ गया तो you should know how that part works. ठीक है. सर्वेश्वर, आज वडिलांच्या अकाउंट मधनं जॉईन केलं?
हा सर, पप्पांचा लॅपटॉप आहे.
ओके. हा तुझा शेवटचा आहे ना पेपर?
हो, लास्ट पेपर आहे.
चलो, व्हेरी नाईस.
येस.
आणि तू आता सेकंड इयरलाच आहेस ना?
नाही, आता TY ला गेलोय.
टीवायला गेला?
हा.
बापरे. One special aspect of company taxation is कि देखो, if I have given a loan to someone and it is not my main business, my main business is coaching, but I have given a loan to Harsh, and on that loan I have received an interest, then That is a non-trade loan relationship. Why? Because it is not a part of my main trading business. तो ये जो income मुझे हर्ष से मिला on the loan that I have given to him, that will be included as NTLR income, non-trade loan relationship income. And if I have taken, say for example, I have a property and I have taken a loan to purchase that property. So उसपे जो interest आप pay करेंगे on the loan acquired to purchase that property, that will not be subtracted from property income. That will be subtracted under the NTLR, non-trade loan relationship rules. Unless you are a bank, giving loans and taking loans can never be your main trade. ठीक है. अब if you have taken, say for example, loan for working capital requirements, मतलब if you have taken a bank overdraft, तो वो bank overdraft पे the interest that you pay, that interest will go in your regular trading income में, it will be given as a deduction. If you have taken a loan to purchase an asset and that asset is being used in the trade, that will also be allowed as a deduction in trading income. But बाकी का कोई भी अगर होगा तो that will be allowed as a deduction in the NTLR वाला calculation. ठीक है. अब सी अल्टीमेटली कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. क्यों? बिकॉज यू आर नॉट इंक्लूडिंग दैट इन द ट्रेडिंग इनकम, बट यू आर इंक्लूडिंग दैट एल्सवेयर इन द टैक्स कंप्यूटेशन. सो इट्स नॉट एज इफ इट इज एस्केपिंग टैक्स. यू आर स्टिल टैक्सिंग इट, बट यू आर टैक्सिंग इट अंडर अ सेपरेट हेड. ठीक है. प्रॉपर्टी इनकम इन केस ऑफ अ कंपनी इज ऑल्सो टैक्स ऑन एन अक्रूवल बेसिस. यहाँ पे रेंट रूम रिलीफ, फर्निश्ड हॉलीडे अकोमोडेशन, ऑल ऑफ दैट इज नॉट देयर. रिप्लेसमेंट डोमेस्टिक आइटम रिलीफ भी नहीं है. रिप्लेसमेंट फर्नीचर रिलीफ इज अनलाइकली टू बी एप्लीकेबल इन अ कॉर्पोरेट वाला सिचुएशन इन द पेपर. ठीक है. एनी इनकम दैट अ कंपनी अर्न्स ओवरसीज मस्ट बी इंक्लूडेड, एंड वी हैव ऑलरेडी टैकल्ड द ओवरसीज एस्पेक्ट इन अ सेपरेट डिस्कशन. आई थिंक दैट वाज द फर्स्ट डिस्कशन दैट वी डिड. Now, what are qualifying charitable donations? All donations to charity by companies are allowable. If a small local donation is given, then as a trading expense, all other donations are allowed as an allowable deduction from total profits. If you have given, if there is a QCD, that amount will be given to you. It is always paid gross. And if QCDs paid are they exceed the total profits of the company, no relief for the excess is given unless the company is a part of a 75% group. So basically, the larger donations are subtracted from your TTP as your qualifying charitable donations. And qualifying charitable donations cannot be carried forward or carried backward, but group companies where there is some surrender that can happen. ठीक है. Now, in case of companies, there could be a situation where the company has prepared its books of accounts for a longer period, more than 12 months के लिए it has prepared its books of accounts. In that case, the 12-month period should be broken down into 12 plus some number of months, and then 12 months का अलग computation and 5 months का अलग computation. Apart from capital gains, everything else has to be basically time apportioned. Because capital gain का आपको specific date पता रहेगा, you should record it on or you should include it in that particular period. ठीक है. Now, let's quickly discuss the research and development expenditure वाला adjustment, because ये काफी बार I have seen it in the adapted questions in the exam kit also. In order to encourage more spending on research and development, additional tax relief is given if a company spends money on qualifying R&D as defined by generally accepted accounting principles and guidelines from the government. Relief is given under the R&D expenditure credit scheme. How does the scheme work? You calculate the 20% of qualifying R&D. That 20% you include that in the taxable trading profit, and whatever amount you have calculated, subtract that from the corporate tax liability as a tax credit. Matlab, if your total qualifying expenditure is 1 lakh, 1 lakh into 20% is 20,000. 20,000 को आप add करो in the taxable trading profit, and 20,000 आप subtract करो from where? You subtract 20,000 from your total tax liability, and you will arrive at the final number in this case, which is the final amount of tax that you have to pay. Now, qualifying R&D expenditure will include what? Qualifying R&D expenditure में आएगा staffing cost for staff directly involved in R&D work. It includes their NIC and pension contribution. एक question हमने किया था where this one woman, she is employed by a company, फिर you have given her कुछ उसको लिविंग अकोमोडेशन दिया था, कंप्यूटर दिया था, ऐसा एक क्वेश्चन था, राइट? उसमें वी हैड कंसिडर्ड कि class 1 employer contribution will also be included in the eligible expenditure. Then externally provided workers for R&D, basically agency staff का भी मिलेगा. Material, water, fuel and power, software, data licenses and cloud computing used in R&D, and payments to subcontractors. But it does not include rent. And payment to subcontractors में, if it is an unconnected subcontractor, you will be able to claim 65% of the expenditure. If the R&D contractor is a connected person, for then R&D tax relief can be claimed on the lower of the payment made to the payment made to the connected contractor and the relevant expenditure of the connected contractor. दोनों में से you can claim lower of the, you will be able to claim on the lower of the two. But you get an election, you get a choice here that the two, if two companies are not connected but they can choose to be connected, they can choose to show themselves as connected, and they can use this election in their own favor so that they can claim a greater amount of RDEC credit. ठीक है. Capital expenditure on R&D qualifies for 100% R&D capital allowance in the year of purchase, so it is fully deductible as a trading expense. It does not, however, qualify for the RDEC. Capex doesn't qualify. ठीक है. R&D subcontracted to an external connected subcontractor. एक बार देख लो how does this work. ठीक है. Just go through the explanation. Neat, you had something to ask now?
Yeah, so class 1 NIC का क्या था वापस समझाओ.
So class 1 NIC is also included in eligible expenditure. तो उसको भी include करना है. पेंशन कंट्रीब्यूशन को भी इंक्लूड करना है. एंड द रीजन आई स्पेसिफिकली रिमेंबर, इस पे एक क्वेश्चन किया है हमने. उसमें वो लड़की का नाम ए से शुरू होता है, मुझे वो भी याद आ रहा है, बाकी नहीं याद आ रहा लेकिन.
सर इसमें आरडीएसी कैलकुलेट करने के लिए ये 65% अमाउंट का 20% लेंगे राइट?
हाँ, क्रेडिट के लिए उसका 20%, बट पहले यू विल एड ऑल ऑफ दीज टुगेदर इन वन प्लेस ना.
यस सर.
हाँ, ठीक है. ये कब किया था, माय गॉड, मोर देन अ मंथ अगो, 21 जुलाई. बहुत टाइम हो गया. ओके. Some other adjustments in corporate tax. One is transfer pricing. Transfer pricing legislation will apply under what all circumstances? If you are a large company, then any dealing that you have, transfer pricing regulations will apply. If you are not a large company, then if you are a small or medium company, you are buying goods from or selling to an overseas company resident in non-qualifying territory, then transfer pricing rules apply. If you are a small or medium entity and you are dealing with a UK SME or overseas company resident in a qualifying territory, then the transfer pricing rules do not apply. The only time they don't apply is when you are a small or medium company and you are buying goods from or selling goods to a UK SME or an overseas company resident in a qualifying territory. Ab, how does transfer pricing work? I'll give you a simple example. Incorporate that in all your questions. ठीक है. क्वेश्चन में आपको हमेशा दिया रहेगा whether the company is small or medium or whatever it is. Suppose Samir is a related party, or I am a large entity, Samir is also a large entity. Now Samir is my brother, so I sold 15,000 units to him. The market price is 5 rupees per unit, but I sold it to Samir for 2 rupees per unit. ठीक है. So my revenue should have been 15,000 into 5, that is 75,000, and his expense should have been 15,000 into 5, that is 75,000. But what happened is I sold it to him for 2, so I recorded a sale of 2 and he recorded an expense at the rate of 2. The transfer pricing regulations say that, listen, Satyamit, You sold it to him for 2, but that doesn't matter. The current market value at which you would sell to anyone else is 5 rupees. तो तुमको क्या करना पड़ेगा? You will have to do 15,000 into 5, 75,000. Original transaction was at 15,000 into 2, 30,000. दोनों का difference निकालो, include that difference in your income. And if I include that in my income, if the other party wants, it can include that in the overall, in its expenditure and claim that expense. ठीक है? अब look at case 1 and look at this situation, and then I would want you to just go through case 1 once. देख लिया? यस सुमित बोलो।
सर, वो इसके रिलेटेड डाउट नहीं है। वो जो R&D एक्सपेंडिचर था ना,
हम्म।
उसमें सर एक क्वेश्चन में एग्जाम किट के उसमें एक्सटर्नल जो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर है उसको जो हम लोग लोअर पे रिकॉर्ड करते हैं ना, जो प्राइस पेड या एक्सपेंडिचर इनकर्ड,
हम्म।
उसमें 65% नहीं लिया है। उसमें डायरेक्टली मतलब वही सेम अमाउंट ले लिया है।
दे मस्ट हैव मेड एन इलेक्शन टू ट्रीट अस दिस थिंग ना, उसमें बताना तो कौन सा क्वेश्चन है। आई विल चेक एंड लेट यू नो।
ठीक है, ठीक है।
ठीक है।
ओके।
यस हर्ष।
सर आई थिंक आई सीन दैट क्वेश्चन। वो जब कनेक्टेड के लिए इलेक्ट करते हैं तो 65% नहीं लेना पड़ता ना?
मुझे एक बार दिखाओ ना, आई विल गो थ्रू द क्वेश्चन। आई विल
ठीक है।
चेक व्हाट दे हैव डन।
सर इसमें इसमें सर ये जो ALTD लार्ज है तो वो तो एडजस्टमेंट करेगी, ट्रेडिंग इनकम अपनी बढ़ाएगी। तो जो BLTD है उसको भी एडजस्टमेंट करना पड़ेगा ना?
वो ओवरसीज कंपनी है ना, वो क्या करता है उससे हम यूके टैक्स में क्या कर पाएंगे?
ओके।
वी डोंट केयर अबाउट व्हाट
ओके।
द कंपनी डज। इफ इट इज अ if it is another company in the UK, then in that case, you will have to make a it's not compulsory to make a corresponding adjustment. See, HMRC insists कि तुम तुम्हारे इनकम में ऐड करो। HMRC खुद के लिए it will not create a tax, मतलब it will not create a loss for itself by telling another company कि अरे you should claim an expenditure for this. HMRC ऐसे नहीं बोलेगा ना।
सर नहीं होता है सर,
ओके।
मतलब होता ही नहीं है इवन इन प्रैक्टिस। इट्स ओनली फॉर द रेसिपिएंट।
या ओनली फॉर द सेलर। कोई खुद मतलब सी अल्टीमेटली कोई खुद का रेवेन्यू थोड़ी कम करवाएगा ना।
यस सर।
Okay. Now, the thin capitalization part, so this is a situation where a company is trying to take more debt than what it would otherwise would have taken. ठीक है? When a UK company pays a dividend, there is no tax relief for the payment. When it pays loan interest, the interest is tax allowable. This means that companies may prefer to be financed through loans rather than through shares. अब thin capitalization rules aim to stop UK companies from getting excessive tax relief on interest, मतलब इसमें भी उनको प्रॉब्लम है। ठीक है? This occurs usually because they have received a loan from a related party that exceeds the loan an independent lender would be prepared to lend. The rules ensure that interest on the part of the loan that an independent third party would be prepared to lend the company is allowable. The excess is disallowed. बेसिकली आप ये फाइंड आउट करो कि हाउ मच वुड एन इंडिपेंडेंट थर्ड पार्टी बी प्रिपेयर्ड टू लेंड यू, then you see how much you have actually borrowed. That will basically give you an idea ki how much of the excessive borrowing has happened, and to that extent on that excessive borrowing whatever is the interest, that interest will be disallowed. ठीक है, एक बार just go through this question. Yes, Samir.
Sir, it's question number 35, Sabin wala, for the RDC.
ठीक है, I'll go through it.
हाँ सर, उसमें इलेक्शन ही हुआ है, वही मैंने अभी चेक कर लिया।
I'll open the question. वो किया था ना हमने?
Yes, sir.
यस सर।
Yes, Samir, बोलो.
नहीं सर, वही था कि क्वेश्चन नंबर बोल रहा था।
Okay. Now, सुमित, मैं देखता हूँ क्वेश्चन, मतलब I'll just tell you what the challenge in that question is.
ओके सर।
Yeah. अब intangible assets में either you claim the same amortization that is given in the books of accounts, either वो amortization claim करो, अगर वो कम लग रहा है तो 4% of the cost can be taken as an amortization every year. If I'm talking about an intangible asset, so I get an election to do this. When an intangible asset is disposed of, then at that time it is not a capital gain, but it is added to the trading income. On the disposal of an intangible asset, the proceeds of sale are compared with the tax written down value to give a profit or loss. And that amount will be included in the trading income. It will not be included in your capital gain, नहीं होगा उस केस में. ठीक है. And in case of goodwill purchased is treated differently from other intangible assets. Amortization or impairment losses relating to goodwill are not allowable for tax purposes. अब गुडविल के केस में क्या होगा? when goodwill is disposed of, the proceeds of sale are compared with the cost to give a profit or loss. Any profit will be treated as trading profit. Any loss will be treated as a non-trading debit and can be set off against total profits of the current period, group relieved if part of a 75% group, or carried forward and offset against total profits of future period. In case of goodwill, again, because there is no amortization, there is no written down value. Because there is no written down value, तो वो सब होगा ही नहीं. आप compare करो sale proceeds को with the cost, the difference is trading profit. ठीक है. And if there is a loss, then whatever is the loss, adjust it against total profits of the current period. You can group relieve it or carry forward and offset against total profits of the future period. If profit is made on disposal of any intangible asset and a new intangible asset is acquired within 12 months before or up to 36 months after disposal, part of the taxable profit may be deferred. Maximum deferral is lower of disposal proceeds or amount reinvested less cost of the original intangible asset. ठीक है. Special intangible rollover relief is available for goodwill as well as other types of intangibles. So maximum profit which can be deferred, uska calculation they have told you, lower of disposal proceeds or amount reinvested, less cost of the original intangible asset. अब ये ऐसा वाला पार्ट है जो आपको याद करके आगे चलना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. Cool. Okay. Before we go to groups, there's a small discussion on company का खुद का losses that we should do. Then we'll go into groups. For its own losses, company has three options: carry forward relief, current and prior year relief, and terminal loss. Carry forward is, you can make partial claims also. Adjust against future total profits before QCDs, and the amount has to be claimed. Current and prior year relief, current period before carry back. पहले you have to adjust it in the current period, then you can carry it backward. Individuals के केस में ऐसा नहीं है. Individuals के केस में पहले you can adjust it against the preceding year. You cannot conserve the adjustment of losses in order to conserve the QCD. Adjust हो गया तो पूरा adjust हो जाएगा. Partial claim is not allowed. And terminal loss, carry back 36 months. Terminal loss मतलब loss of the last year of trading. ठीक है. Carry back 36 months, adjust against total profits before QCDs on a LIFO basis. The amount has to be claimed and a partial claim is not allowed. Most of the company का जो भी loss that you want to adjust it against its own profit, these discussions or these calculations are usually an all or nothing adjustment. पूरा claim करो या फिर कुछ भी claim मत करो. You cannot restrict its adjustment in such a way that आप छोटा अमाउंट एडजस्ट करेंगे एंड बैलेंस के लिए यू कैन क्लेम द क्यूसीडीज. दैट विल नॉट हैपन. ओनली इन केस ऑफ कैरी फॉरवर्ड रिलीफ पार्शियल क्लेम इज ऑल्सो अलाउड. करंट एंड प्रायर ईयर और टर्मिनल में आपको पार्शियल क्लेम इज नॉट अलाउड. ठीक है. इन कैरी फॉरवर्ड इट इज पॉसिबल टू रिस्ट्रिक्ट द अमाउंट ऑफ क्लेम. एंड The current year and carryback reliefs need to be claimed within 2 years of the end of the AP in which the trading loss occurred. The carryback option can only be considered after claiming in the current period. Individuals के केस में ऐसा नहीं है. Individuals के केस में you can carry it backward also before adjusting it against the profits of the current, against the total income of the current year. You know how the calculations or how the adjustment is done. सारे profits पहले लिख दो. If there is a loss in a particular head, उसको zero लिख दो. ठीक है. Then start adjusting with that loss which is the most restricted in terms of adjustment, and then adjust the other amounts. The QCDs will ultimately end up getting wasted because partial claims are not allowed to you. ठीक है. If there are different accounting periods, okay, loss making period of less than 12 months, the length of the loss making period is not important. Full relief is given against the current period total profit before QCDs. The remaining loss can be carried back in full in the normal way. If you're talking about short accounting periods prior to the year of loss, see, loss making period of less than 12 months and short accounting period are different. If any of the accounting periods falling in the carryback period are less than 12 months, the profits of the accounting period that fall partly into the carryback period must be time apportioned. ठीक है. एक बार इसको देखो. In the accounting period preceding the loss making year ended 31st of December 25 is the 8 month period ended 31st of December 24. ठीक है. ये 8 month period है. Then of course you have, मतलब यहाँ पे you must have changed the year end date or something. तो एक बार just go through this example. ठीक है. I'll scroll down, एक बार देख लो पूरा. ठीक है. Okay. Now, capital losses can be adjusted only against chargeable gains. Partial claims not allowed in the current year. Property business loss can be adjusted against total profits before QCDs. The adjustment is automatic. Partial claims are not allowed. NTLR deficits are adjusted against total profits before QCDs. Claim within 2 years of the end of AP. And मैनेजमेंट एक्सपेंसेस अगेंस्ट टोटल प्रॉफिट्स बिफोर क्यूसीडीज, यहाँ पे भी पार्शियल क्लेम इज नॉट अलाउड. कैरी बैक में एनटीएलआर डेफिसिट का पार्शियल क्लेम इज अलाउड. कैपिटल लॉसेस कैनॉट बी कैरीड बैकवर्ड. प्रॉपर्टी बिजनेस लॉसेस, मैनेजमेंट एक्सपेंसेस कैनॉट बी कैरीड बैकवर्ड. कैरी फॉरवर्ड में capital losses can be adjusted against future chargeable gains. Automatic partial claims are not allowed. And the offset is restricted to 5 million plus 50% of remaining gains after deducting 5 million. So अगर 8 million होगा तो 5 plus 8 minus 5 का 50%. That way. A property business loss can be carried forward to be adjusted against future total profits before QCDs, and claim within 2 years of the end of the AP in which it is relieved. Partial claims तीनों में अलाउड है. यहाँ पे आपके कैपिटल लॉसेस में partial claims are not allowed. And all these three, which three? Property business losses, NTLR and management expenses, the excess can be group relieved. Capital losses होंगे तो वो, it is not लॉस रिलीफ ग्रुप में एडजस्ट नहीं होता है, इट इज एडजस्टेड इन द कैपिटल गेन्स ग्रुप। व्हेन यू आर डिसाइडिंग कि, बाय द वे लॉसेस आर नॉट ट्रांसफर्ड, assets are transferred at a no gain no loss transfer. When you are choosing ki out of the different approach, I mean which option of loss relief should you opt for, you should think about the tax saving that you will get at the, depending on where the profit is and kitna loss आपका relieve हो रहा है. If the effective rate of tax, you should basically prefer that adjustment which maximizes the effective rate of tax saving. ठीक है, if you are in the main rate less marginal relief, then your then your effective tax saving is 26.5%. तो वहां पे सबसे पहले एडजस्ट करने का कोशिश करो. The loss should be adjusted in that year first, where the profit is somewhere between the upper and the lower threshold. If you are adjusting losses, if you carry it forward in the future, तो क्या होगा, future liability will reduce. If you carry it backward, because 1 year carry back after current year adjustment is allowed, then in that case you will get a refund of tax that is already paid. So that factor will have to be taken into consideration when you are making a choice of loss relief. And when the trade becomes small or negligible, then it is not possible to carry forward the loss. If the nature and conduct of trade both undergo, if the ownership of the business changes and the nature or conduct of trade that also change, both of these things change at the same time, then the uh, loss is not allowed to be carried forward. And profits in excess of 5 million, we had seen, it is 5 million plus that excess amount minus 5 into 50%. उतना relief आपको मिलेगा. If there is a change in ownership that happens and the change in ownership is followed by a major change in the nature or conduct of trade, then the losses cannot be carried forward. Where there is both a change in ownership and a major change in the nature or conduct of trade within a 5 year period beginning no more than 3 years before the change of ownership, or when at any time after the scale of activities of trade has become small or negligible and before any considerable revival of the trade there is a change in the ownership. Basically एग्जाम में आपको क्या टेस्ट करेंगे ये लोग, they will try to test whether you know कि change in the nature of change in the nature or conduct of trade हुआ, and around the same time there is a change in ownership also. In that situation the carry forward is not possible. ठीक है, guys, let's take a छोटू सा 5-6 minutes का break and then we'll resume.